Guys, what an interesting day. Wow. So this is when we get to make videos with no preparation. There's no makeup, no hair done, all of that good stuff. Today's June 25 and I want to share with you guys the power and the understanding of we live in a matrix and we repeat patterns, and our ancestors influence us so much. So much. When things are not going the way you want them to go, it is probably because an ancestor somewhere in the past had created an idea, a belief, a perception, or had some sort of trauma, and that imprint left an understanding in your cells. And now you're playing that understanding out into your reality. And it oftentimes is to do with safety. Like they want to feel safe, and their current understanding is that's how they stay safe, and then that to keep you safe you are going to play out that same pattern. Or it's a condition, like your senses here and now have been triggered. They trigger a memory in your cells. For example, when you are out and you might see somebody eating candy and you get the smell of cotton candy, you remember as a childhood, in your childhood, when you would go to the park and you would eat candy, and then there would be a memory attached or a behavior attached with that memory. There's an example of the scientist shocking, I think it was they shocked dogs. The dog would sniff roses, and then they would shock the dog every time, and the dog would go into shock with the smell of the rose, right? And then they tested the next generation, and when the next generation would just smell the roses, the animal would go into shock without being shocked, because that was the physiological response to that behavior that was passed down genetically. Make sense? Another example would be, say your father, every time your father didn't do his homework, his father would beat him. So maybe the question would be, have you done your homework? And he would say no, but he knew that every time he heard that question, it was only ever asked when he didn't do it, right? Did you do your homework? No. Boom, he was beaten. So that question is associated with being beaten. Now in your cells, somebody might ask you, hey, have you done that work? And immediately, even though you've done it, your body goes into a shutdown. It goes into stress. It goes into fear, fight, flight, because that is associated with your father. This is transgenerational trauma, transgenerational conditioning, right? This is when we say breast cancer is in your family. No. The incident or the perception or the trauma that creates the physiological response in your body that leads to breast cancer is in your ancestry, is in your genetics, yeah? It's the emotional trauma, the shock, whatever, that caused your cells to get stressed as fuck, that causes the cancer. So even if you think, oh, my childhood was great, there was no trauma, because we are one collective energy, we carry trauma from the collective to heal it. You don't get away with not doing it, but not doing the healing work. Maybe you do, who am I to say that you don't? I know that I took on, usually if you're watching this video, you're probably quite intuitive and you probably are aware of a lot of this stuff. But the reason I'm making this video today is it's June 25, right? And I decide to write into this group and offer healing sessions for mom. Then I see on my Facebook that I did the exact same thing a year ago today, June 25, 2021, I offered free healings for moms. And I was like, right, in the field, in the matrix, there's a pattern repeating, let's see what this pattern is. Also, today was a day where I was going to go to a family constellations where you see what's happening in the genetic line. And I didn't end up going, but then it came to me in many other ways as well, like it does. So I decided, right, I'm going to go back to the house and sit down and do the work. I use theta healing, sometimes I use journaling, I use different methods to go into transgenerational trauma. Most of the time it's theta healing. So The name Annie had been coming to me recently anyway, so many times. My daughter was calling me Annie. I was like, right. And I know she's super tapped in. So as I start this work, the energy comes in. I've recorded a little bit of it. And this woman comes through, and her name is Anita. And Anita was furious. She was absolutely furious, and she was extremely panicked. And what I was shown was she was extremely panicked because her village was being burnt down. And it turns out that her son had betrayed her. And her son had told these individuals where they were located, so the individuals knew to come because they wanted to burn down their village. So the woman felt completely betrayed by her son. But when I went deeper with this, it was, why did her son betray her? Her son betrayed her so that she could take care of herself. So he betrayed her out of an actual obligation so that Anita knew what it was like to take care of herself, and she wasn't obligated to take care of another. Because when she was younger, her dad never ever supported her, never validated her, and never allowed her to be curious. He had to keep her safe at all costs. And so that meant a cost to her curiosity, a cost to her exploration. Your job as a parent is to keep your child safe, not to allow them to experience or experiment in the field. So how many of us as moms try to keep our children safe? Safe from what, by the way? But that's a part of our brain, safe, right? It's survival self needs to keep you safe. But he wanted to keep her safe at all costs. And how she grew up was, you sacrifice yourself for another being. You sacrifice yourself and your desires so that they're safe. And so you have an obligation to them. So I sacrifice myself for love and for safety. And so the only way she was going to have an ability to go out and to live her desires, to live her curiosity, was if she was no longer responsible for another human being, which was her son. So unconsciously, she wanted her son to betray her. So they were cut off from each other, so that she was no longer responsible for him, so that she could go and be curious. That might seem like a lot. This is what we teach in theta healing, by the way. We teach you this entire process, but the motivations of the mind are many. We oftentimes do not realize the extent to which we create our reality and the undercurrents of that creation. You see a situation, and to you it is a bad situation, but an aspect of your mind created that situation. We call that situation an undercurrent. It created it. Why? Because it is serving another part of you. And oftentimes that is our survival self. Or it's giving us validation, or it's doing something. There is a reason for that situation. It is showing somebody something. It is showing yourself or somebody else something. Maybe it's showing you that you're strong, that you're resilient. What is it showing you? And why do you need that? If it's showing you that you're resilient, what does that resiliency mean to you? Well, if when I'm resilient, then my dad is going to see that I'm good enough. And if it wasn't your dad, maybe it was your ancestor's dad. Because Anita was looking for the validation of her dad. She was looking to show that, first of all, she wanted her desires met, her desire for curiosity, and she could only be curious if she wasn't responsible for another human being, because what she learned was you have to sacrifice yourself for other people's safety, and you have to sacrifice your curiosity to keep them safe. And the idea was safety at all costs. So what we did was, through this generational healing, was I helped her see another way, shift that pattern, release that trauma, and free up that whole scenario. So I hope this video serves you, and I'm going to offer this healing towards you and your family line. And you can just close your eyes now as I witness this for you. This is how healing with consciousness works, right? Because consciousness is non-local, and we all have access to view the information in the field. Because many of us, we might say the story, like, we identify a lot with our patterns, our behaviors, where actually karma and patterns, they're not individual. You have chosen to take them on in this lifetime so that you can transmute them on behalf of the collective, but they're not personal. That is one of the biggest blocks to us healing as a collective. We take it too fucking personally. What if it was just information in a field that's asking to be looked at? And if we identify with it too much, sometimes we don't want to look at it. And a friend of mine sent me a beautiful quote this morning, which was, when you look at another person and you see all the things you love about that person, it's because you love them in yourself. And all the things that you judge in that person, you're actually denying in yourself. I thought it was absolutely brilliant and so profound. So take this with you throughout this day. Please know that everything can be healed. Of course it can. It's information within a field. It's information on a wavelength in a field. You have a birthright to be able to access that information. Patterns are only patterns until you look at it and you see why it is that way, and then you can shift it. Yeah, it might take time. It might be immediate, it might take time. It doesn't matter. Your awareness and your ability to look at it is what matters. So I'm going to stop now, and what I'm going to use is theta healing. I just close my eyes because it allows me to just concentrate on the information. And I'm just going to tune into the energy of the people that will watch this, so that the healing is applicable for all of you. Okay? So I want to go through generations of time and close any obligations that we have to the reason this was so important, guys, this is really personal, I'm going to share it though. We have been waiting for our next baby. We know that we feel him around all of us all the time, and this healing was directly linked to him. So he has been asking for this healing to come through, because, and this is so important, when there is a pattern, I don't want to use the word pattern, when there is an incident, I may not have taken on that incident, I may not be affected by that incident, but the next generation will be, right? Our children are genetically more influenced by our grandparents than by us. Yeah, this is huge. And so we need to look at their history, because their history is repeating in our children. And I have been drawn to so many books recently about this information because I'm here to share it with you, and I'm here to heal it in my own family. When I was pregnant with Diana, I did so much subconscious work, and now you meet that girl is amazing. And it's not that all children aren't amazing, it's that all children are carrying the patterns of the past. So unless we're able to look at it and heal it, our children will continue to repeat the patterns just because we can't look at ourselves. And that is the truth. Okay, so I used a series of energy testing, and which again, we teach energy testing is how to look. Your body shows you what you believe to be true. You know that, right? You think about things, you see how your body reacts. Why does your body react? Your body is responding to past experiences, past understandings, past feelings, sensations. It's very intelligent. So we use the muscle testing, And I was checking, I was using the name of our boy. We know what his name is, we know his sex, like we know him, we know that he's waiting to come in, and he is literally waiting. And I knew my resistance. There's some people out there that are begging to be pregnant and they can't, and there's reasons for that. And then there's us, who I know there's a child waiting to come in, and I was resisting him coming in. And that was because of these patterns that were asking to be shifted in the field. Because if I didn't look at them and I didn't allow them to be healed, his genetics would be influenced by that information. And I knew that. And so I didn't want him to carry that in. And so that's what he's asking of me, and that's what our children are asking of us. So if you want to have children, and if you have children, they are so capable of the work, so capable, because children are connected to God. They are connected to consciousness. They know. Children know, okay? So today is June 25, and even though the healing that wanted to be done is done, I am still going to offer. I'm going to limit it now though, because I've already had so many inquiries this morning. I'm going to give 3 more spaces for free healings for over the next 2 weeks. It will be the end of next week and the week after, for moms, right? And for dads, moms or dads, or you want to be a mom or dad, right? And say if you want to be a mom or dad and your baby's not coming in yet and you don't know why, or you feel there's a baby around but you feel resistant to having a baby, come, let us look at your ancestry. Let us have a look and see, did it start in your childhood, or is it something that your ancestors happened to them and they're not bringing forward? Because it all can be healed. And the children, guys, the children want it to be healed. When we say children are the masters, it's because they are. I could ramble and I'll stop. So thank you for listening. Oh yeah, let me finish that healing, sorry. I'm gonna release any need that we have to obligate other people to betray us so that we can take time for ourselves. Fucking huge, absolutely huge. So, absolutely huge. Huge. If you want to go deeper into this, guys, join my group, Sacred Adornment, on Facebook. Yeah, we'll do more live group healings, and get in touch if you want to have a free healing, and get in touch if you want to join our next trainings using theta healing, which is the modality I use to view these lifetimes, and EFT, which is I use that to tap through to release trapped emotions, often in the womb, and all of these amazing moments in time that we're not always aware of. But often there can be many trapped energies from those times that are influencing us today. So I send you big hugs and loves, and I talk to you guys soon.